Good afternoon. So many of you might have already joined the class regarding the PYQs for the case studies. So case studies was the part B, and now part A of the ethics paper relates to the theory part, which are the concepts of ethics. And when we talk about the strategy for concept part, theory part, then the methodology for that is slightly different from the case study. Case study, you remember there were a number of steps, and we started with a short summary. Do you remember? Some of you were there, or so a short summary, then a stakeholder, the ethical issues and ethical dilemmas. The fourth was options available and merits and demerits of each option. And then we had to write down which option do you recommend with justification why. And the last was conclusion, or in other ways, way forward. Way forward means what would you like to recommend. So some of you who are not present in those sessions, you can definitely draw upon the background material or PPTs for the case studies part, because case studies are very scoring and they are more of a common sense. You put yourself in the position of the protagonist and you are able to understand brainstorming. You can find out which are the options available, find out the merits and the demerits. When it comes to the theory part, the part A, that basically deals with the values which are there, and therefore I always suggest that, no problem. I always suggest that you should prepare a glossary or a kind of a file you prepare containing all the terms which are relevant. They are the keywords, so-called keywords. Ethics paper is about keywords and examples. So more examples you give in respect of the keywords, your answer would be very good. So when we talk about ethics part, I have a strategy also ready in case you want to first of all go through the strategy for part A, which or maybe we will take up at a later stage. But just to tell you that the strategy part, cancel. Yeah. So the strategy for part A, so strategy for part A is essentially when you have to talk right answers as to, for example, what is integrity, what is conflict of interest, what is accountability, what is transparency. So these are the keywords. Now, what are the things that you have to write when they ask you to explain that? As I have said, the keywords and examples, they are the basically what is contained in the paper. So what you will write, first of all, definition. Supposing it is integrity, so you will write definition, significance, significance of integrity. Number 3, role in civil services, benefits of integrity. Fifth is what will happen in its absence. Happen in its absence. अगर नहीं होगी इंटीग्रिटी तो उसका क्या परिणाम होगा या दुष्परिणाम होगा. What is going to be what will happen in its absence? Absence. Then sixth is value mapping. What is value mapping? Value mapping is basically that for that particular value, who are the people in the public domain who have practiced that value. For example, if it is social justice, you will write the name of Ambedkar. If it is corporate governance, business ethics, you will write J.R.D. Tata. If it is truth and non-violence, you will write Mahatma Gandhi. So this is called as value mapping. And seventh is, give an example of that. And this example, for example, integrity, I often give this example and you must have already been familiar with that you are driving a car at midnight and you come across a traffic signal which is red. Now there is no traffic, there is no police constable to check you. So ordinarily people will be tempted to jump that red light, which is called as lack of integrity. So if you are having integrity, you will stop at that red light and you will proceed only when it turns green, even if there is no traffic, even if there is no police constable. So integrity is the definition. For example, sticking to your values, even when no one is looking at you. No one is looking or supervising at you. Supervising. Have you understood the meaning? This is the definition. So definition, first of all, you will write this. And example, very apt example is that of a motor car you are driving. So this will complete the answer. So don't leave the answer like that if they ask for any particular definition. This is basically conceptual understanding of a particular value. The same way question can be on transparency or accountability or conflict of interest or many other keywords find place. There are at least 200 to 300 keywords which are there: rationality and objectivity and compassion and sympathy and empathy. You must understand that you must write in a register. These are nuts and bolts which I am talking about. take a register, write down on each page or 1 or 2 pages, if the material is more, write down every definition, term, and the terms, these 7 points in respect of that term. And this is how you prepare for every value, every keyword, okay, which is required in ethics. So the keywords in respect of the terms, if you want to have, well, I do have it because I have prepared it. Almost there are about 150 words. I will probably pass it on to the vision, and they can always communicate to you in whatever fashion, whether it is on email or you want a hard copy. But this is how you will prepare the basic background material regarding part A. Now the questions which will come may not be very simple questions that you define this. There can be different types of question. While giving the answer, take care that use diagrams, flow charts, etc. in support of your answer. That will add lot of ingenuity to it. Are you understanding what I am trying to say? That diagrams, flow charts, pictorial representations, they add value to your answer. So for example, if you have to write the stakeholders in a case study, and similar would be in the case of part A also. So stakeholder, you remember we had given this. This is how different stakeholder we had given. In the same way, if you have to explain a particular point in part A also, try to have a tabular form. It can be some tabular form. It can be a flow chart. It can be this kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is that it is always good to use pictorial representation in part A also and part B also, wherever it is possible. I'm not saying that every question you will be able to have a pictorial representation, but wherever possible, if you have to explain different things, you can use a pictorial representation. Okay. Now, the examples. From where do you draw the examples? So examples can be made available from different sources. What can be the examples of, for example, let me show it to you. Have you written it down, this thing? Right. So examples can be from 1, your own life. For example, honesty. So some example from your own life can be there. Small ones. You don't have to write, because number of words for each question is limited. And therefore, do not exceed that number of words. And that is why I keep on saying this mundane thing, that practice, practice and practice. Try to take up as many cases of case studies, as many cases of part A questions, and write down the answers. That will give you speed, number 1. That will improve your handwriting, number 2. And that will ensure that you memorize it immediately. And ethics and essay paper, some most scoring papers which are there in civil services examination. So number 1 is your own life, newspapers. Number 2, newspapers. You prepare cuttings from the newspapers regarding the various issue. For example, a police constable gave back to the owner 1 lakh of rupee, and that was reported in the newspaper. So you can write that this is how honesty, this shows honesty. Similarly, accountability, you can write the example of Lal Bahadur Shastri. About account, and also you can write example of Satish Dhawan. Vishweshwaraya, one of the Diwan of Mysore, he went, when he had to submit his resignation, he went to the office to submit his resignation in official car, but came back in his private car after submitting resignation. That shows, it's an example of Integrity, correct. So therefore, newspapers, number 3, your own the Google of course is one of the very good sources. 4th is your religious books, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, or many religious sayings of great saints which are there about different things. You can also take the example from Hitopadesh. These are all example collection of values in our life. So Hitopadesh or Panchatantra, Chanakya, yeah, correct. Chanakya. It can be, for example, many other, like, for example, there are some things like Tenali Ram, that also it talks about values. So it can be from any of these sources. It can be from the lives of great people, lives of, here we are writing examples. So you have to prepare a bank of examples by, as I said, the best thing would be to prepare a glossary for each keyword, 7 items which I had said, and the last one was example. So you can use 1 page or 2 page or 3 page, whatever you want to keep for that particular term, but prepare 1 register exclusively for this purpose. 1 register you prepare for quotes, the most the great quotes which are there, and that is the by person wise, who has given that quote, who has given that saying, and you dwell on that. That is, you write down a few things, because quotes will be relevant to you in GS4 paper and essay paper also. Both the places quotes will be helpful. In fact, quotes can be used in all the papers, GS1, GS2, GS3 also. So therefore, quotes, examples are very necessary. Lives of great people. It can be a hypothetical example also. So you can say that, supposing there is a term called conflict of interest. So you can give a hypothetical example, that supposing there is a civil servant. Are you able to hear me? Supposing there is a civil servant, and he is sitting as the chairperson of examination interview, and he finds that one of the candidates is related to him. So then, if he sits in that interview, it will actually entail conflict of interest. So he must recuse himself from that interview. So this is an example of conflict. This is a hypothetical example. So you can use hypothetical example also. So what others can be there? Sources? Any other sources which you can think of? Yes. Literature, why not? Literature, yes, why not? Yeah. So there can be examples from William Shakespeare, or poetry, prose. There are so many examples in literature. So these are all things which you should try to draw upon and prepare a bank. And that is why that requires patience. So what happens is people become very impatient. But as I said, the first 2-3 months are required for literally preparing the notes and the bank of various things which are required. Now, when we talk about the terminologies, you should do that with respect to every subject. Prepare a terms in history, prepare a term in geography, prepare a list of terms in other subjects which are part of different GS papers. Okay, so polity and geography and history, do prepare this, because that is going to be used anywhere. And you can also use the case studies in part B. You can also use case studies from part B. In fact, both are interchangeable. Part B case studies can be used in part A, and part A concepts can be used in part B. So both these things you can interchange. So this is how you will write the examples. Okay. So basically, for ethics theory part, as I said, let us find out the type of questions. And remember one thing which is quite well known, that examiners may keep on changing for various papers, but they are also given a set of previous year's papers. So generally they change slightly but keep the question similar. So if you have done practice regarding the previous year questions, the same question may come in a slightly different form in another year also. So that is how the PYQs are so important. Any questions so far? Yeah. Bloggers, okay, yeah, yes, yes, why not? You can write, and the only thing is it should be relevant to that particular thing. All these things must be relevant to that particular value. Yes, why not? Bloggers, definitely you can write, and there are very good bloggers. And you, so you, when you prepare a list of the examples, you should also include therein the bloggers. Correct, correct. Yes. Surely, why not? If in a Supreme Court judgment they have, because normally the judgments include many times such terms. The justices talk about what is accountability and what is corruption and what is probity. So if they have written, but write only a few lines, otherwise, and use inverted commas. The judgment should be reproduced as such. It should not be changed to your own language. So you can say Supreme Court in case such and such also came out with an example or definition of a particular value. Fair enough, very good. That can also be done. Right. So let us start with some questions. This happened in 2021, UPSC. So the question is, identify 10 essential values that are needed to be an effective public servant. Describe the ways and means to prevent non-ethical behavior in the public servants. So there are two parts to it. One is that 10 essential values which are required for a public servant, and how will you ensure that public servants, they do not display non-ethical or unethical behavior. So you have to write it in 150 words. So again, as I say, at the cost of repetition, whenever you write an answer, try to write a rough answer at the back of the paper, your answer sheet, so that you do not commit any mistakes, and write the rough one and then reproduce it at the proper place. So what can be some of the values which are required? Honesty, accountability, transparency, integrity, responsibility is it is also there, but responsibility generally comes within accountability, though there is a slight difference, but it probably will form within that. Leadership is actually is more of a skill. Leadership is skill. Anonymity, okay, anonymity. Rationality. Yeah. So problem solving. Problem solving is also more of a skill, isn't it? It is not a value. It is more of a skill. Impartiality. Yeah, impartiality, equity, justice. Yeah, you can do that. Yes. What else? Objectivity and rationality. Yes, they are similar. You were saying, ma'am? Probity. Yes, probity. Correct. So anyway, all of you are aware about it now. So you can use any of those 10 values which are there. There are almost 100 values which are there required for a civil servant. You can use any of the values, but it is always good to write only that value which you are very sure of, which you have lot of material available to you, okay? Because you have to also write what exactly. So this is an approach which I am giving. It is not an answer as such. It is an approach which I am giving. You can use your own words. So approach is introduction. Public service is a noble profession, demanding noble conduct from those who serve. It's a very simple sentence. You can use in your own words, you see. But this is how you will approach a small introduction in the beginning. Introduction and conclusion are the two things which you always write in any answer. So it should be a good introduction, an interesting introduction, and also an interesting conclusion. So the introduction, I have written this, and 10 essential values which I have written is integrity, compassion, efficiency, neutrality, objectivity, accountability, transparency, anonymity, impartiality, and empathy. So you can use permutation combination. They don't say that these are the only 10 values. There can be more values. So then pictorial representation, as I was telling you, this is how I have done pictorial representation. So this gives a slightly better, beautiful presentation. So write in whatever. I have done circles. You can write in blocks or squares or whatever matter. You can do that. But it always helps in impressing the examiner. And then preventing non-ethical behavior. There were two parts to the question. What steps need to be taken for preventing non-ethical behavior? If supposing the number of words here becomes 150, then obviously you can't write anything more. But supposing the number of words still falls short, that is why I said write it on the rough sheets. Then you can also make an attempt, for example, to define integrity, compassion, efficiency. But that depends on the space which is available, time which is available. So this is how the second part is attempted like this, preventing the non-ethical behavior. Number one is descriptive method, which is code of conduct, which clearly defines acceptable and unacceptable behavior. So one is, how do you prevent public servants from carrying out unethical activities? Number one is code of conduct. Okay. So code of conduct, example, Central Civil Services Conduct Rules 1964. Okay. Number two is normative method. Now descriptive, why we call it descriptive and why we call it normative? Correct. Descriptive gives details, what is to be done and what is not to be done. Normative is a norm which is more general in nature. Okay. Now in India, we don't have a code of ethics for civil servants, but elsewhere in the world we have a code of ethics. So you can write that normative method, that is a code of ethics, which provides guidelines or guiding principles for good behavior and governance. UK has it, and Singapore has it, many countries have it. So, but you can write it as a code of ethics normative. And then procedural methods. So number one is training, capacity building. You carry out regular training, telling them that this is ethical behavior, this is unethical behavior. So people, and this is the penalty you will have. So training, regular training, capacity building, that is required. Service training and department attachments. So attachment with various departments. For example, you may be attached with the Department of Personnel. You can be attached with the CBI. You can be attached with the CVC and so on. So departmental attachments to sensitize you in respect of ethical and unethical behavior. And then reforms in CVC and CBI. That means carry out reforms in CVC and CBI so that those who are guilty, they are caught, and those who are otherwise not guilty, but they are more creative. If there is no malafide, they are protected. So this is how the CBI and CVC constantly you have to reform. For example, CVC issues instructions regularly how tenders are to be opened, okay, what is the procedure, the committees have to be formed. So the procedures which are required, that is done by the CVC and CBI. So you keep on, for example, information technology has come. Now you have to incorporate in the instructions information technology, hacking is there, and so on. So they're different. With the passage of time, you have to keep on updating the instructions. So this is another. So conclusion, again I have written introduction and conclusion. Conclusion is adherence to constitutional values and personal conscience. So I have added one more dimension, that is the conscience. So the constitutional values and personal conscience guides public servants towards ethical behavior. Now you can also write, instead of constitutional values, the foundational values, because basically foundational values also derive strength from the constitutional values. Okay, so this is the conclusion, that they will guide towards ethical behavior. So this is how this particular question was attempted. Anything you would like to suggest, or any query or any comment? Yes, sure.
Anonymity, the term, please elaborate how it is essential value.
Okay, so anonymity is basically that the public servant is a person who has to operate from the back seat. Okay, the job of a public servant is not to gain publicity. The publicity part is actually that of the political executive. So the public servant should be anonymous. He should not try to gain publicity. That is an important value, and that is why I always keep on saying that those public servants, civil servants who try to become popular on the YouTube and others, trying to project themselves, some district magistrates, they go and whenever they go, they carry a cameraman along with them, takes the photograph and then put it on the YouTube. Now that is breach of anonymity. The public servant is supposed to publicize only those things which are the government schemes and program. For example, a public servant, civil servant, can definitely speak something about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, or Swachh Bharat, or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. They are government schemes, and that also has to be done with the permission of the higher authorities. So those people who try to publicize themselves, actually it is unethical behavior. So I have seen many, I'll not like to mention that, some public servants go around slapping someone, and they try to show that they are the king. Some public servants I have seen that they try. So I remember one public servant carrying her child while she is giving a speech, carrying a child in her arm. Now that again caught media eye. Now the job of the public servant is not to catch the media eye, or they will put something on the social media regarding baby showers. So all kinds of things I have seen, and I'm sure all of you are aware about it. But the important thing is, a civil servant has to be anonymous. Anonymous means one should not try. It is like an army. Army is faceless. Civil servant has to be faceless. The person who has to get publicity is actually the political executive. The public servant, civil servant, has to sit in the back and help the political executive. That is what was laid down by Sardar Patel also. So therefore, if every public servant starts giving interviews every other day, it is not correct. The public servant has to take permission. Would you agree to that? Okay. second question, should impartial and being non-partisan be considered as indispensable qualities to make a successful civil servant? Discuss with examples, illustrations. So this is again 150 words. So the question is centered around values, impartiality and non-partisanship. Okay. So what is the difference? Tell me. What is impartiality and what is non-partisanship? Showing the no difference, impartiality. Okay. Treating everyone alike, and there should not be anything, any bias or prejudice in favor or against. Okay. That is impartiality. Non-partisanship. Yeah. So political neutrality. Okay. So that is non-partisanship. Both are required, because at one point of time, one political party will be in power, another point of time, another political party will be power. And Sardar Patel's concept, which is such a beautiful concept, he said that I want to give the complete, backing and protection to the civil servant, so that they are fearless and they can give correct advice to the political executive. They should not get identified with any particular political party, and they should act as a bridge between one government and the other government. So that is called as non-partisanship. You only have one right. You can vote. You can vote for a particular party. That right you have got. But you cannot side with any particular political party. Only for casting your vote, that is the only right that you have in respect of affiliation with a political party. So the approach is again an introduction. You will begin with one or two lines of introduction. A successful civil servant adheres to core civil values, strengthening public trust and effectively delivering public services. So mark the words strengthening public trust and faith. So the job of the civil servant, a successful civil servant, must stick to the values which strengthen the trust of the people and deliver the public services well. So delivery of public services, earning the trust of the people, that is the job of the civil servant. Okay. Impartiality. Impartiality is, as it was said by one of you, principle of justice, not favoring any person or group over another. So it is treating everyone alike without any difference, bias, prejudice, favor. For example, how do you do that in deciding the court cases, for example? You appreciate the evidence of both the sides and then decide what is right and what is wrong. You do not take sides, okay? So that is called as impartiality. It is like that if there is a rich man and there is a poor man. So you have to treat both of them equal, okay? And you can't take particular side. You have to decide issues on merit and not on any other consideration. So importance is decisions are based on objective standards, rationality, evidence, facts and figures, free from bias. Example, in land acquisition, decision must consider all affected parties equally as per the Land Acquisition Act. There can be many examples of impartiality. Can you give some example? One example I gave, land disputes. If there is a land dispute, then you have to decide the case impartially. If there is a dispute between two communities or castes or religions, you have to decide it impartially. Even if you belong to one particular religion or a caste, but here you will be sitting like a Panch Parmeshwar, Parmeshwar, because you have to decide. You are at the high pedestal. You have to decide without any biases or favor. Because if you decide that with a bias, what will happen? What will be its consequence? What will be its result? If you don't take an impartial view. So what people will have? So the faith and the trust of the people in the government and the officer will be totally broken. So people will start saying that this fellow is aligned to this particular person. And civil servant has to take a very rational and objective view. Okay, so non-partisanship. Now what is non-partisanship? It is political neutrality. That politically we should be completely neutral. So it is political neutrality here, and here it is justice. So this is the difference, not influenced by any political party. It ensures the importance is something like significance. What I wrote in that value, na? This is a value. I wrote that the definition, the significance, and if you have time, if you have space, you can write other things also which I had made, that is examples. What will happen in its absence? What are its benefits? What is its significance in civil services? So whatever you think is possible within the time space and also the number of words, you should try to write it. Okay. Ensure civil servants serve all political executive equally, which was here you can say that this is exactly the dream of Sardar Patel, that the civil servant should be totally impartial, non-partisan, so that they can deliver the public services impartially and people have faith in the government. Example, during elections, DMs ensure free and fair conduct without supporting any political party. In fact, I remember I was the returning officer for Chandigarh parliamentary constituency, and there were there were a number of contenders who were the candidates, but major two parties were there. And at the end of the election, both one lost and the other won, but both of them came and they praised me and they thanked me for carrying out an impartial election. That is what you should expect, that every political party should have a good word about you, saying that you have done it impartially. And this is what they want. And if a civil servant, please understand, there will be many unethical civil servants. I'm not saying that. But do you want to be one of them? I'm sure you don't want to be one of them. You should try to be totally impartial, and the politician also likes such civil servants who are not aligned to any political party. Why? Why? Yes, when they will lose, they will be in opposition. They would like that the officer should be totally impartial. And that is why it is always and people have respect such people who are totally impartial and non-partisan. So conclusion is, impartiality and non-partisanship are crucial for public trust. Again, the same word. You see, these are the things, words which appear everywhere. So some of the terms of good governance, some of the terms of citizen-centric administration, you can use them at various situations. So empathy, compassion, transparency, accountability, these are the words of keywords of ethics, and try to incorporate them wherever you think proper. And I would like to humbly submit that rather than using a pedestrian language means an ordinary layman's language. You are all aspirants for the civil services and you have read through those books and other. So try to use words which are something like, derived from, they are kind of technical words. So empathy is for example, one word. Try to use empathy, compassion, non-partisanship, impartiality, trust, faith. So these are the words which you are going to use in your answer. And effective governance. So governance again is a word. Other values like integrity, honesty, and empathy also support a successful civil service career. So here we have written that it is about non-partisanship and impartiality, but in the passing, in the conclusion, we have also mentioned that besides this, these also are necessary for a civil servant. Any questions? Simple answer, nothing great about it, but this is how you will give answer. And that is why I say ethics paper is a very scoring paper. Only thing is, put yourself in the position of the protagonist and see how you will write that. Give examples and drawn from the, yes, please. Yeah, kindly speak in the, yeah.
So can we also add one or two negative points about impartiality, like lack of emotions or such kind of things?
Well, impartiality does not mean lack of emotions at all. You mean to say if there is one party who's poor and the other party, it in fact do not write that. My view is, unless they ask for a question, otherwise write only the positive things. Otherwise, the examiner, may get a feeling that civil servant, you have to take impartiality with a pinch of salt. My suggestion is, if they ask that, do you think there is a conflict between the values empathy and rationality, or objectivity, or impartiality, only then you write. Otherwise, negative things, it is a value. Impartiality is always good. Okay? It does lead to sometime that negation of other values like empathy, compassion. My view is that be straight to the point, do not write anything which is controversial. Unless, as I said, sometimes the question is that how do you think, what are the negative points of rationality or objectivity or impartiality? Then you can write that there is the issue regarding if someone is very poor and nobody is coming forward, and if I become partial, I will be able to help her. The immediate question will be that it is liable to be misused. How can you, supposing there are two parties and one party on merit, the party, you need to give a decision for that party, but the other party is poor. So will you give a decision in favor of the poor party because she is poor? So my suggestion is that to the point answer, don't write anything which may be taken otherwise. Okay? Should impartial and being non-partisan be considered? ये तो हो गया. This has been done, na? Yeah. ये repeat कैसे हो गया? Okay. Yeah. Sure. वो back चला गया. Identify 5 ethical traits. 5 ethical traits on which one can plot the performance of a civil servant. Again, there can be more than 5. You can choose any one of the 5. So, any 5 ethical traits, justify their inclusion in the matrix. The question is, what are the ethical traits which a civil servant should possess? Okay. Now, sometimes you will feel confused, what are the values and ethical traits? There's slight difference. So, let us see the answer to this. Again, introduction and conclusion. So, this is how you will approach every question. And the same way, you remember part B also we wrote, introduction and conclusion. Okay. Conclusion I said as way forward. Introduction was something like short summary, that is there. So, introduction, civil servants are crucial for policy implementation in a country. Evaluating their performance through ethical traits ensures accountability and effectiveness in governance. So, it says if you have ethical traits in a civil servants, it ensures accountability. You can use many other words also. For example, you can write that the ethical traits will ensure trust and faith of the citizens. It will ensure a better public service delivery. So all these things, don't think that any particular word is a must. It depends on the context situation. You can write anything. It should convince the examiner. So now 5 ethical traits. One is financial integrity. So justification is it ensures transparency and accountability. Financial integrity का क्या मतलब है? What is the meaning? Dealing with money, you have to, dealing with money, you have to be very careful. No corruption, okay? And it should not only be right, but also appear to be right. So financial integrity, dealing with government money. Yeah, sure. Huh? Economy in integrity, yeah, why not? Economy and integrity, that also is something which is a financial integrity. So economy and integrity, that also is the same word explained in different way. Now if you have financial integrity, it will ensure transparency. So for example, if there is a tender, you must ensure that the tender is publicized on the website, on GEM, in newspapers, so that everyone comes to know about it. That is integrity, isn't it? So financial integrity ensures transparency and accountability. So you are accountable for the public money. Whose money? It is the people's money. They pay taxes. So you are using those money. Every book on finance, financial manual in the government, when you will go and occupy those seats, the financial manual, the first paragraph, there is a mention that government money or public money should be used as if you are spending your own money, okay? With the same circumspection, with the same carefulness, you must spend the government money. So that is financial integrity. Reducing corruption. If you have financial integrity, it will reduce corruption. Parameters include the number of corruption complaints, adherence to laws and regulations. So how will you do that? You will stick to the laws, you will stick to the procedures, the manuals, in order to have financial integrity. So how you will carry out the advertisement, publicity, when you have to procure, for example, a laptop. Now laptop can be as costly as 1,50,000 rupees. It can also be something like 60,000 rupees. Now you have to ensure, number one, you purchase it at the lowest price, at the specification which are required by you, and try to have maximum publicity so that more and more people, they come and bid and you get at a lower price. So that is financial integrity. Second is moral integrity. Moral integrity is basically, they must act in the public interest. Everything should be in public interest. For example, supposing there are already 10 laptops and you start putting a demand, I have to spend money, you see. So I will purchase 10 more laptops. Now that is actually not needed. So it is, must act in public interest. What is in public interest? If you really need it, only then you should do that, okay? If you are already having good furniture in your office and you say, oh, this sofa is old, I will get hold of a new sofa. You are spending public money. It is a lack of moral integrity, okay? So one should spend only that much which is necessary for running the office. So moral integrity is like this, okay? It is sticking to the values which are in public, avoiding personal gain. So avoid personal gain. So how can you give example of personal gain? Yes. Yeah, that also is there. The second is, I am having a Maruti car, but I want to purchase a Corolla, you see. So that is personal gain. I want to move in a much better car. It is personal gain. Why do you have to? You don't have to buy a BMW. So that is personal gain. So, or getting a bribe that you purchase at this price and it is, you will get some money out of it. Okay. Let me give an example to you. Many times foreign visits take place and officers pay the full ticket price. Full ticket price. Can you tell me why? No, that receipts will be there. He will produce the receipt, but full ticket price. There is a discounted ticket, air travel, and there is a full ticket. If you pay full ticket price, the travel agent will say, sir, pay full ticket price because you can pay that. And I will provide a complimentary ticket for your spouse. That is personal gain. Many people do that. Instead of purchasing the discounted ticket, which may be almost half the amount, they will pay full price because under the rule, you can pay the full price. But is it moral integrity? It is not moral integrity. So this is how you have to stick to both financial integrity and moral integrity. Okay. Then attitude towards weaker sections. So this again is an example, very important ethical trait, that you must have a sympathy, empathy, a correct attitude towards weaker section. So they reflect, what is the justification? They reflect compassion, empathy. Parameters include accessibility, field visits, and responsiveness to the needs of the marginal community. So how do you do that? Plan field visits. You know, every district magistrate, when you will become district magistrate, you will be required to carry out field visits, touring, staying outside the headquarter. I was the collector, and every month I have to go and stay in a guest house in my district 5 times. So sometime I will go to this subdivision, go to a village. The second subdivision, I'll go to a village, stay in a guest house. The guest house can be irrigation guest house, PWD guest house, marketing guest house, electricity guest house. And there I will spend the night. Morning I will call the people, which include weaker section also. And I will say, राशन कार्ड आपको मिला कि नहीं मिला, फूड ग्रेन्स मिले कि नहीं मिले, किसानों से पूछेंगे कि पानी आपकी जो फील्ड पर आ रहा है कि नहीं, whether you are getting electricity or not, whether the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribe, have they got scholarship for their children or not. So this is again ethical trait, caring for the weaker section. And how do you do that? Being accessible. What is accessibility? Approachable. Yeah. So the peons sitting outside your office should not stop them. You open your door so that people can come, belonging to different castes, poor people, economically weaker. So accessibility. Number 2, field visits, which we have said, and responsiveness to the needs. What is responsiveness? Taking quick action and accountability, listening to their grievances. Responsiveness is listening to the grievances. In the good governance 8 pillars, one of the pillars is responsiveness. That is why the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister and everyone has got a portal on which you can file online grievances, complaints for their redressal. Otherwise, people's voice is unheard, particularly the weaker section of the society. So you have to do that. All right. 4th is decision making ability. One should be able to take decision in time. Problem solving will also become, decision making will also be there. You know what is difference between problem solving and decision making? What's the difference? Correct. Its problem may be a bigger problem. It may require many steps. At every step you have to take a decision. Okay. So if you take decision quickly, you will be able to solve the problem. Okay. So this is how Justification indicates presence of mind. Crisis resolution, there will be crises. You have to have decision making. What can be the crises before civil servant? Ethical dilemmas, correct? Crisis of concern. Conscience, okay, all right, crisis of conscience. So, can you name some situation which can be crisis? Disaster management, yes. For example, a bomb hoax, terrorist violence, political instability, accident, riots, these are crises. In the crisis, a civil servant is actually tested. So some people, I remember, and I'm telling you these things because I'm giving you the practical viewpoint. I'm not giving you only the theoretical viewpoint. Some DMs and SPs, when there are crises, what they do is, they switch off their radio sets and they head in an opposite direction. यहाँ पर आग लगी हुई है and they move to the other direction. So they are not taking decision. You have to be present at the spot. Crisis. So therefore, you have to take quick decisions. And some people say, not taking a decision is a decision. I don't agree. You have to take a decision. It may be right or it may be wrong. But take a decision. And the word which I always use for those people who don't take decision, that is the treadmiller. Do you remember? Did I talk about treadmiller? No? What is a treadmiller? So what is its analogy from the treadmill? Running but not producing any results. Standing and doing stationary running. दौड़ रहे हैं बहुत, बड़े पसीने पसीने हो गए, काम कुछ नहीं किया. Not delivering. So that is called a treadmiller. Decision making means don't treadmill. Jog outside, run outside, produce some results. Ownership of responsibility. One should take ownership of responsibility, which is actually accountability. If you have taken a decision, don't blame your subordinates. Many SDM, collectors, they blame their subordinates. मुझे क्या पता, वो तो जी उसने किया था, he was manned on the spot. No, you are the senior most. You have to take responsibility for the action of your subordinates also. So this is taking ownership responsibility. So justification, it means accountability and courage to uphold public interest. There can be many such situations where you have to take a very courageous decisions. Courage is required. And again, some people are very adept in not taking decision, rather asking the senior people कि जी कैसे करना है इसके अंदर. Never do that. Whatever is within your power, exercise that option and do it. As I gave you that example the other day, I think someone, he was putting up every file to the senior man and writing it, may kindly see, and he says seen but not kindly. देख तो लिया लेकिन kindly तो नहीं है. So this is how ownership. So for the responsibility. So conclusion is, evaluating civil servants based on these ethical traits ensures a fair, realistic and credible assessment reflecting their responsibilities and promoting effective governance. So basically we started with that civil servants are responsible for implementation. Evaluating their performance through ethical traits will ensure accountability and effectiveness. Okay. So effectiveness, you remember two terms we use, efficient and effective. What is effective? What is effective? Yeah, so impact. There should be impact. Ab you purchase textbooks, you purchase desktop, the tables, you build a school, you hire teachers, but you don't see the results, whether actually the children are getting education, whether they are getting employment out of that. So therefore, it is the outcome which is important, not output. Output and outcome में ये difference है. That outcome is the impact. That is effectiveness. Whatever decision you take, there must be effectiveness. Okay. So that was the second question. Now let's proceed. Any questions so far? Yes, please. Mike?
Sir, at the beginning you mentioned that there's a difference between ethical traits and values. I haven't really been able to grasp that difference very well. Like, I understand that these traits are somewhat seen in our actions, but if you could give
Correct.
me a better...
You have named it, action.
Okay.
Using the values
Okay.
in action. So taking decisions is action. Okay. Similarly, financial integrity is using the values. Which are the values? Honesty, integrity. So basically, ethical traits, ethics is actually values in action. Ethics, the definition is, yeah. So ethics and values, what is the difference? Yeah. Ethics, values in action. Dealing with other stakeholders. When you start using the values, dealing with stakeholders. So therefore, financial integrity is dealing with honesty and integrity, moral integrity also. Weaker section, your attitude towards weaker section, that is action. You are having compassion, sympathy, empathy towards them. Decision-making ability is again action. You must decide. So it is values in action or play of values. Play of values. So have you understood? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure there will be many, but would you like to respond to the question which he has asked? That the civil servants who have displayed these ethical traits, financial integrity, moral integrity, there will be many. Can you name? Yeah. Yes. Satyendra Dubey.
Yes, sir.
Yes, correct. Satyendra Dubey was a public servant, and he in fact was a whistleblower who raised an issue regarding the NHAI, the bungling which was going on in terms of awarding of tenders. So it was financial integrity was displayed by Satyendra Dubey. He was a public servant. He was ultimately, what happened to him? What happened to Satyendra Dubey? He was killed. But he did not deter. So, civil servant must take care. I am not saying that you don't protect yourself. You have to go to the police, take help, but don't deter from the moral, the values. What others? Attitude towards weaker section, for example. Can you name some officers? There are umpteen examples from southern India. There are many civil servants who had attitude towards the weaker section of society, and they literally transformed the weaker sections. So if you look up, you will be able to find out. But decision making, come on, TN session, decision making, ownership of responsibility, any particular person. You see, when we talk about the civil servants which come to our mind, who have been instrumental, Ashok Khimka is there, Durga Shakti Nagpal is there, Kiran Bedi is there, TN Session is there, Pame is there. There was, for weaker sections, the children were in orphanages. So there was a collector who removed all the air conditioners from his offices and he put them in the orphanage. So this is how I can give you dozens of examples where civil servants have gone that extra mile, and that is what differentiates between an ordinary and extraordinary civil servant. When an ordinary civil servant walks an extra mile, he or she becomes extraordinary civil servant. So that is what happens. And there are, I'm not saying that there are not unethical civil servants. There are many unethical civil servants, but ultimately it is on the shoulders of such civil servants who carry the mantle or burden carrying out the governance in this country. And every one of you can become that. There are temptations which will always be there, but temptations are something which you have to overcome. Okay? Right. Does it answer your question? Okay. Yeah. UPSC 2022. Wisdom lies in knowing what to reckon with. Okay, let me ask you this question. When we talk about objectivity and rationality, can you name a public servant, not IAS, but who was very objective and very rational? All his policies were on the basis of facts, figures, evidence. Okay, Amitabh Kant is one. Okay, Kiran Bedi is there. Someone, the Reserve Bank of India, who worked as the governor? Raghuram Rajan. Raghuram Rajan is one of the greatest objective and rational public servants. And he had the courage to say that demonetization is not good. Because he said that all over the world, demonetization has never been a success. So there are people who are rational, who are objective. For example, T.N. Session, he did not buckle down under any of those things. So you will find so many of the civil servants, some people have devoted their life for the tribals, for weaker sections of the people, for scheduled caste and so on. Wisdom lies in knowing what to reckon with and what to overlook. An officer being engrossed with the periphery, ignoring the core issues, is no rare in bureaucracy. Do you agree that such preoccupation of an administrator leads to travesty of justice to the cause of effective service delivery and good governance? Critically, what do you mean by this? That you look at the peripheral issues rather than the core issues. Okay, treadmill. So some people are they don't deliver. Yes, correct. Yes, sir. Yes. Someone said yes. Red tapeism, yeah, correct. Red tapeism, bureaucracy, armchair bureaucracy. So, for example, as I gave you that example in one of the case studies, that a civil servant goes to a village and the requirement for a particular social welfare project scheme is that the person must have an Aadhaar card and a date of birth certificate, and the person is residing there. He or she appears to be more than 80 years of age. She fulfills the qualification, but she does not have the certificate. So a person who is dealing with peripheral issues, he will say, reject that application. But the fact is, some of them, they will go deep into that core issues, that she deserves a pension. So they will try to help her out. So there are public, and this is what the Prime Minister also has said in terms of a program. What is that called? He says that the civil servants should also ensure that public service delivery is done. They should not get only bogged down by bureaucracy or red tape or the rules and regulations. What is that program? Launched by Mission Karma Yogi. So Mission Karma Yogi is the program which Mission Karma Yogi, which says from a rule based to role based. The role of a public servant is to help. If you become slave to the rule, then you will not be in a position to deliver. So therefore, a civil servant should ensure that the peripheral issue is not the only issue, because public service delivery sometimes requires that you go out of the way and take a decision which is for the overall good or public good, or in Hindi we say Janahit ya Lokhit mein. Okay. So let's see the answer. Approach. Introduction. Civil services exist to serve the public interest, not private interest. Civil servants are called public servants because they serve the people, they serve the public. So they serve the public interest. The complexity of modern bureaucracy often leads to officers focusing on peripheral issues. Rule based. Ignoring core problems. For example, Pradhan Mantri the Anna Yojana, jo bhi, which under which the food grains are being given after COVID-19. Now supposing the requirement is Aadhaar card. अब किसी का आधार कार्ड नहीं है, but does it deprive him or her? If you go strictly by the rules, he or she will not get it. But after all, COVID-19 has affected everyone, so she deserves to get it. So therefore, you will find some way to overcome that requirement of an Aadhaar card by taking statement or taking some other proof of residence and so on. So therefore, civil servants serve the public interest. The complexity often leads to focusing on peripheral, in ignoring the core problems. Okay. So means become an end. Excessive adherence to rules can deny services. Aadhaar card. Okay. Outcome versus output. We are sometimes more concentrating on output, results, targets. हमने achieve कर लिए, इतने बच्चों को educate कर दिया. So many things we try to flaunt that thing, without finding out whether actually those boys and girls, they have actually become educated. What happens is that sometimes the education produce literate people but not educated people. Okay. So this is what happens, that we are more concerned about output and not concerned about outcome. So focus on enrollment over educational quality, highlighted by different reports pertaining to by the UGC. Faulty policy making. Swachh Bharat focuses on toilet construction rather than changing the behavior of the people. So behavior of the people, they like to relieve themselves, go in the open. So their behavior has to change. I have seen so many toilets. This scheme of toilet is not something new. When I was the collector, then also the scheme was there. But there was, what happened? They constructed toilet, but people still continued to go outside. So you have to take care that the policy should be one which is accepted by the people. And let me tell you, as I said, that whenever you bring out a policy, the third step, or fourth step rather, in the policy cycle, what are the 6 steps of policy cycle? It may not be in this particular topic, but I'm telling you because certain things which you will not find in any textbook as such. What are the stages of policy cycle? You know what is policy cycle? One is problem identification. You identify the problem. What is the problem? Open defecation. That's the problem. Okay. Then you find out the next step is agenda setting, which is finding the options. Find options. Then next step is policy formulation. The fourth step is policy legitimization. Legitimization. What is this legitimization? Accepted. People accept that policy. If they don't accept the policy, farm laws were not accepted. You had to repeal them. You made some amendment and you had a hit and run case, and there the entire transporters went on strike. You remember? For 2 days the transporter went on strike because the policy was not legitimized. So if the policy is not legitimized through publicity, campaigns involving the stakeholders, then it is liable to be rejected. So this thing, faulty policy making, sometimes results. So therefore we have to serve the public interest, and therefore it is necessary that we should understand the problem of the people. It should not be only rule bound. If you find that there is a rule which needs to be amended, amend it, change it, okay. So then there is a counter argument. What is the counter argument? The opposite, cons. So the pros is that we should not concentrate on the peripheral issues, we should concentrate on the core issues. So this is the argument in favor of that, so that public service delivery is there. But there is another argument. So the argument is rules ensures corruption free, because if you give discretion to the people, some people who are unethical, they are liable to indulge in corruption. That is why rules are framed, so that people do not violate those rules. So therefore, if you focus on role based by relaxing the rules, then people will indulge in corruption, because a discretion will be available to them. So that is the counter argument. That is why we have so many strict rules. Everything has to be done by rules. But this is what the Prime Minister said, that move away from rule based to the role based. And what other infrastructure like schools and sanitary facilities are foundational. So therefore, the infrastructure like schools and sanitary facilities are found. What is the meaning of this? Yes, correct. So that is the counter argument, that first of all, if you want to achieve results, unless and until you have the infrastructure, you can't do that. Swachh Bharat will not happen. You have to create infrastructure. So conclusion is, officers must balance rules and also the public interest. So in which emotional intelligence will also required, and fairness is also required, justice is also required, integrity. So on one hand, you have to adhere to the rules, but on the other hand, you have to also use emotional. That is why it says there have to be now rule based and role based. There has to be some kind of, both the things are necessary, isn't it? So peripheral issues no doubt lead to not effective public service delivery. But sometime if you relax the rules, if you make it only role based, people will try to take advantage out of that. So that is the answer, that officers must balance adhering to rules with focusing on core issues, using emotional intelligence and principle of fairness, justice and integrity. Now supposing, let me give an example. There was a time when I was the SDM and the collector, arm licenses, there was no necessity for a police report. People used to come to the collector and say, sir, mere ko arm license chahiye. And I used to write on the application, sanctioned a non-prohibited arm license. Well, go straight away and he will purchase an arm. That was my discretion, I could do that. But some people, may take advantage out of it. What is the advantage? People tried to sell the arms. So granting a license, they started taking money. Okay, and sometimes what happened that those people became criminals. So the discretion always has the flip side also. So then the Arms Act was amended, and now compulsory police verification is necessary before grant of the arm license. Okay, so this is what happens. You have to balance the rules as well as the public service delivery. Is it clear or not? Any doubt, please ask me. Yeah, so educated and literate. Literate means you can, basically you can read the alphabets, you can, but do you understand them? Because educated means you have to go behind that, isn't it? If you can learn many words in Hindi or in English, but do you realize the importance of that, significance of that, what importance it has got, in the modern the day world? So basically it is going behind that. Literate means कि मुझे बस पढ़ना लिखना आता है, पर क्या है वो चीज़, you don't know. Basically going behind that is educated. And also that whether you will get a job or not, whether you get employment or not, whether, for example, you may be very literate. I'm saying a person may be very literate, but he doesn't respect his parents. पढ़ा लिखा तो है, पढ़ा लिखा होने के कारण माता पिता की रिस्पेक्ट करना तो उसको सीखना चाहिए. But an educated person will include therein many other aspects also. So moral education, respect for others. Literate people is just, I'm trying to be literate. So that is the fundamental thing. Don't agree? Huh? A literate person, for example, may become a dacoit, a criminal. He's a very literate person, but he's not educated. Educated means you have to protect the women, you have to protect the children, you have to protect the people, you have to live by your values. So that is the education. Right.
Sir, sometimes people also use open defecation because they don't have toilet facilities. In such cases, construction can also lead to behavioral change.
Yes, absolutely. So, no doubt construction infrastructure is necessary, but then you construct an infrastructure without bringing about behavioral changes, that would mean that is a wastage of the public resources. So you must carry out an education campaign, a publicity campaign, telling them what are the advantages of going inside the bathroom rather than open defecation, environment pollution, and also many crimes which get committed. So you have to explain to them advantages. So no doubt what your point is absolutely correct. You have to construct toilets.
Yes.
But before constructing toilet, you have to take care of many things. Behavioral is one.
Yes.
Another thing which I'll tell you.
Construction plus awareness.
Construction plus awareness. And construction also, you know what happened? Many bathrooms were created, laboratories were created, but there was no water.
Yes.
So they became so dirty after some time, nobody was visiting them. They said कि ये तो कोई साफ सफाई तो हो नहीं रही है. Neither the Gram Panchayat was doing it, nor anyone else. So then they have to put up toilets in which there were an overhead tank, and there was a water supply line which has to be laid so that it is cleaned up every day. So all these linkages have to be there. Probity is essential for an effective system of governance and socio-economic development. Discuss. So the introduction. Probity definition. First of all, it's the definition. Adherence to strong moral principles, crucial for transparent and ethical governance. So probity in governance is an important topic in your GS4 paper. And ensuring probity in governance, there are many institutions who do that. There are many things, steps that have been taken by the government. Can you tell me the institution and the steps taken by the government for ensuring probity? Some of them. RTI, yes, RTI is one. Okay, Vigilance, Central Vigilance Commission, yes. Pardon? Lokpal, correct, Lokpal. Yes, direct benefit transfer, use of technology. Okay. Citizen Charter, right to public services, CBI, Intelligence Bureau. So these are some of the steps taken and the institutions for ensuring probity in governance. So probity is adherence to moral principles which are required for transparent and ethical governance. So the purpose is we should have an ethical governance. Ethical governance means governance based on values. So legitimacy of the system. What is the importance in effective governance? Probity की हम importance कह रहे हैं. What is its importance in effective governance? It builds legitimacy of the system. It builds trust and credibility. For example, Sagayam's T.N. Carter IAS officer, he disclosed his assets on the website saying, I own this thing, you see. So people should know that this is, I own one house or I have this car and so on. So that displayed probity. So probity is basically adhering to moral principles. So this is strong moral principles. So what was the strong moral principle here? Displaying your assets? Transparency, and the objectivity. So one is legitimacy of the system becomes legitimate. People have faith and trust. Ki, arey, this IAS officer has displayed even his assets. So that people start believing कि हाँ प्रशासन अच्छा चल रहा, the government is running well. So the legitimacy is ensured. Second is objectivity. Ensure fair decision, independent decision. Sanjeev Chaturvedi is an IFS officer, Forest Service officer. He is also Magsaysay Award winner. And he anti-corruption stance he did as in the Forest Department also. And then in AIMS, he was on deputation at AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And he was able to come out very heavily against the corrupt people. So that is to ensure probity. So objectivity, it ensures fairness and independence. Checks and balances are there. So prevents power misuse. TN session brought about probity in governance. People were literally, literally terrified. And he used to say that I am TN session, but I am called as, what is he called? Alsatian. So he said, I am an Alsatian. Alsatian dog is a very ferocious dog. So he said, I am an Alsatian and I eat politicians in my breakfast. So that was the TN session. Checks and balances. He prevented power misuse. The concept of observers, election observers and expenditure observers, all these things were introduced by him. The code of conduct, which was merely a written document, he was able to instill fear in the minds of the people that if you breach the code of conduct, action can be taken against you. Reduced bureaucratic politicization. So it limits favoritism, enhancing governance efficiency. If there is a probity, that is, there is a check and balance, people will not resort to corruption. They will, the politicization also of the bureaucrat comes down. Because why it comes down? Why bureaucrats do not then become politicized? Because they can be proceeded against under the conduct rules. So probity is adherence to the conduct rules, enforcing that with the help of CBI, Department of Personnel and Training, CVC. So politicization also becomes difficult. Officers are afraid. You know something? a person who is put on election duty, IAS officer, or for that matter, even a peon, when put on election duty, his services are taken out from that state and he becomes on deputation to the election commission. So the disciplining authority changes during the period of election. He can be charge sheeted, he can be proceeded against by the election commission. State government has no role. The entire thing is taken. State government cannot even transfer an officer. It has to be done with the permission of the election commission. And then impact on socio-economic development. What impact? Probity's impact. Inclusive growth takes place. For example, DBT. DBT is a measure for probity. So Rajiv Gandhi used to say, one of the former prime minister, that 1 rupee which is sent by the center, 15 or 12 paisa, whatever, it reaches the end use. So if you have direct use of technology, direct benefit transfer, that introduced that probity in governance. So therefore, inclusive growth takes place. Why inclusive growth? Everyone. So the have-nots used to get a lot of money. The haves and the have-nots did not get any money. Now, even the poorest of the people are getting their scholarships directly credited to their account. And every subsidy, everything is getting credited to the, so it means inclusivity. People who are have-nots, who do not have the power, even they are getting justice at the hands of government. So inclusive growth. Investors' confidence. So if there is a probity, there will be investors' confidence, corruption-free, transparent environment. How? Investors will feel confident. How? Yeah. Correct. 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 So without naming some of the states who are known for huge amount of corruption, so industrialists will not go and invest money there. They will say every step you have to pay money to the government offices. The law and order situation is bad. So they will not like to go to such areas. Now, for example, why is Gujarat considered to be a great destination? One of the greatest industrialists in our country, they had to shift their unit from West Bengal to Gujarat, because Gujarat has got that trouble-free, corruption very less, sanctions, approvals can be got without any problem, without payment of any corruption money, and that is why investors' confidence is also built up. Resource utilization minimizes wastage and corruption. For example, Aadhaar linked PDS. So many fictitious fake ration cards, they were abolished because they were all linked with this Aadhaar. Many subsidy schemes which used to be taken by even those, for example, pension. Even those who had died, they were drawing pension, their families were drawing pension. Once it was linked to the Aadhaar, then all those problems disappeared. Now, for example, the public servants, every year, we all, including myself, we have to give a life certificate. What is a life certificate? Saying that I am alive. Okay. So, you file, you go to the bank or to the treasury to say that yes, I am alive. Now, so then they will take your thumb impression, link it to the Aadhaar, and then they will say yes, the pension will be released. So, technology has helped a lot in probity in governance. Lot of money which used to be frittered away through corruption, that is now going to the rightful quarters. And resource utilization, minimize wastage, social justice and equity. So fair policy implementation. Social justice again is a general word. You can use it anywhere. Social justice, equity, empathy, corruption-free environment, transparency, accountability, inclusivity. These are all terms which you should be fond of, and you should start using these level playing field. These are some of the words which you must understand. Of course, you will come to understand every one of them once you will become the civil servant. You will get 2 years of training at the academy and the district level, and you will understand the nitty-gritty and the nuts and bolts of the administration. So conclusion is, probity is fundamental in governance. It leads to socio-economic development, and it leads to a cycle of prosperity and equity. Short answer, to the point answer, but very effective answer. So you will write your answer in this way. Okay? I'm not saying that you concentrate only on one particular language. Use your own language. But try to introduce all these concepts which I'm trying. These are the keywords. Okay? And that is why I'm telling you to prepare a register full of keywords. They are going to be helpful everywhere. When you will become a civil servant, then also you will have to use those keywords while making a presentation, while preparing a report, while preparing a proposal. You will be using these. So that is the beauty of this. Okay. Write short notes on the following. This was also a question. It was in 2022. 30 words each. So you can't exceed 30. You can make 35, but don't exceed too much. So, constitutional morality, conflict of interest, probity, challenges of digitalization, and devotion to duty. So these are the 5 words they want to know. Write short notes. So let us see. Constitutional morality. This was also, now one of you mentioned that you can use some of the court judgments. Yes, constitutional morality was a word which was used by one of the judges in the judgment. So you can draw many of the things from the judgments also. So constitutional morality is basically adhering to the core principles of constitution. So adhering to the core principles. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry. So the core principles of the constitution in a democracy, it means commitment to an inclusive and democratic political process. So inclusivity, democratic political process, basically it is the core principle of the constitution. It involves satisfying both individual and collective societal interest. So everyone should prosper, the individual also and the society also. Individual is protected by the fundamental rights, but there are many things which are societal. So they are mentioned in different articles of the constitution, the directive principles of state policy. So constitutional morality will find mention in one of the court judgments. If you type on Google, even Wikipedia will give you that which is that judgment. You can read if you have time what is constitutional morality. It is governed by the moral implication embedded within the constitution. Even you remember we talked about that the foundational values of the civil servants also derive their strength from one, constitutional values. Second is Nolan's committee's recommendation. You must have studied Nolan's committee recommendation. Also, second, Administrative Reforms Commission's recommendation. So there are a number of bodies who have recommended what should be the values which are required by the civil servant. So constitutional morality. But I am not saying that you have to write only these things. First of all, it has to be 30. Let's see. It is almost 35 or something like that, which is fine. You can write bullet points also. You can write in running matter also. It is totally your wish. Bullet points have the advantage that it instantly catches the eyes of the examiner. So you can write in bullet points like we have written in bullet points. They have said 30 words, so don't exceed 35 words. Conflict of interest. Now, arises when an official's private interests clash with the public duty. You know that. Chanda Kochar was an example of conflict of interest. Delhi MLAs were posted as parliamentary secretaries, which was set aside ultimately. There is a conflict of interest. You sit over an interview and your relation, for UPSC, when I used to go as advisor on the boards for selecting civil servants, in the beginning they take an undertaking from you. They give you a list of the candidates who are going to come that day, and they will say, go through it. And if you are in any way knowing any of the candidate or related to any candidate, you have to recuse yourself. So they will take a certificate that I am not related to any of these candidates. So that also is a kind of ensuring that conflict of interest does not take place. So conflict of interest, ICICI Bank, that also was a conflict of interest. It is personal interest conflicting with professional responsibility. Authority positions conflicting between organizations. So when two interests clash, the same person, it is conflict. For example, a judge, a high court judge, he was elevated from the level of an advocate. You see, high court judges are appointed both as a promotion from the district and session judge, also from the lawyers and advocates. Now supposing a case comes before him which he had handled as an advocate of one of the parties, he has to recuse himself. Otherwise, it will result in conflict of interest. Tomorrow a complaint can be made that this person was standing as an advocate for one of the parties. So it will not ensure justice. So this is it. Probity in public life goes beyond avoiding corruption, but also includes, promotes. So corruption less होना तो जरूरी है, but at the same time accountability, responsibility, impartiality, transparency and rule of law. Where do these figure? Rule of law, transparency, accountability, good governance. Good World Bank's good governance, which is implemented here. So therefore, it says probity does not mean it is not only corruption less, corruption free, but also includes accountability, other values, impartiality, transparency, rule of law, etc. And it is essential for effective governance and socio-economic development. Why? We just now saw in that probity question that if there is a probity, it ensures socio-economic development, because the money reaches the lowest rung of the society and the development takes place. Okay? So probity is by the public servant is absolutely necessary. Lack of probity widens. Now you remember I told you what will happen in its absence. I said in the 7 or 8 steps, what will happen in its absence. So here it's written, lack of probity widens inequality and can lead to social unrest. And importance highlighted by organizational like Transparency International. What is Transparency International? Correct. Rightly said, it is an international organization which publishes report and it ranks the countries on a scale of 0 to 100, and it ranks the countries who are the most corrupt and who are the least corrupt. Where does India stand? Yeah. It has always remained almost around 85 out of 180 countries. And on a band of 0 to 100, it is at 40. So 0 is most corrupt, 100 is least corrupt. Which countries are regarded as least corrupt? Scandinavian countries, yeah, correct, you're right. Okay, so probity in public life. challenges of digitalization or digitization. Sometimes we use interchangeable. Digitalization or digitization. What are the challenges? Very well known. First is problem of electricity. There is no electricity in the rural areas. You see, there can be problem of digital literacy or illiteracy rather. So that again is a problem. So virtual dominance. Most of our interpersonal interactions have shifted to chats, messengers and social media. So what we are writing is that digitization has led to virtual dominance. Manual work to khatam hi ho gaya hai. It has led to virtual dominance in all aspects of government, isn't it? Everywhere now you have to file an application online. The manual thing is over. Number 2, biased policing. AI tools used for predicting criminal behavior have shown varying outcomes based on. We are writing challenges. We have to write digitalization is good, but there are some challenges. So we are writing what are its challenges. They are not asking about the good points about digitalization. They are writing what are the cons of digitalization. One is it has virtually dominated everything. Number 2, biased policing. So what happens is when we use AI tools for predicting criminal behavior, sometimes it leads to outcomes based on race, leading to criticism of biased predictive policing. So biased policing takes place because of too much of digitalization. And digital divide, it has divided the people who are digitally knowledgeable, literate, and those who are digitally not literate. And cyberbullying, so erosion of values because of peer influence on social media. Issues like cyberbullying arise from unregulated digital content. That is why whenever there is a problem of law and order in a particular area, government sometimes shuts down the internet so that the social media does not take place. So that is the digitalization challenging. And any question on that? We have done 5. Yes. Physical, digital infrastructure. Yeah, it is lacking. Correct. That also is there. Everywhere you don't have digital infrastructure. Okay. So internet speed sometimes is not there. Internet is not available. Wi-Fi is not available.
Yes. Can we add another point, or we can write in digital divide only?
Yeah. This thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You can write another point.
Okay, thank you.
Lack of infrastructure. That also can be there. Yes. Correct. Yes. So the laws are not sufficient to the misuse of the social media, digitalization, and people tend to misuse it. That is why unethical hacking has started, and people are losing money through frauds which are taking place. So digitalization has got many negative points as well as. Then devotion to duty. Moral principle guiding decisions in fulfilling responsibility to family, employees and country. So basically devotion to duty is moral principle guiding decisions in fulfilling. So devotion to duty means to the stakeholder. To whom? Stakeholders. So they are asking you to write 30 words. So stakeholder means family, employers and the country. So that is devotion to duty. And then there can be civil servants duty, number 1, citizens duty. So what are the duties assigned to the civil servants and what are the duties assigned to the citizen? Both devotion has to come from both the sides, citizen also as well as the civil servants also. One would also like to add that even the political executive, there should be devotion to the duty as well. So, civil servants, all India service conduct rules mandate absolute integrity and devotion to duty. It finds mention in the conduct rules. Okay. And then decision should prioritize public interest and ensure efficient use of public resources. So here we are writing devotion to duty. Civil servants duty is to prioritize public interest. जो भी होगा जनहित में होगा, लोकहित में होगा, मंगल कारक होगा, not on personal for personal benefit. So that is devotion to duty. And sometimes we also use some other words also. Can you name some other words which are similar to devotion of duty? Code of ethics and no, I was talking about any particular other value which is similar to devotion to duty. Any by another name? Huh? Loyalty, dedication. Dedication is there. So dedication is devotion to duty. Constitution of India's expects every citizen to uphold national unity and integrity through their duties. So fundamental duties, family members' duty, grihasth, individuals have a duty to protect and support their families in all circumstances. Do you know what they are called? They are called as family ethics. So family, there are ethics relating to the family. For example, the parents' duties towards their children, the children's duty towards their parents, spouses' duty to each other, siblings' duties to each other, brothers, sisters. So they are all part of family ethics. So the citizen duty is that every citizen has got a fundamental duty. And similarly, a citizen also has a duty towards the family. So we have divided it into two parts. Devotion to duty we have defined. Then we have said there is a civil servant's duty, there is a citizen's duty. So anything else you would like to add here? Okay. This question came in 2022. The rules and regulation provided to all civil servants are same, yet there is a difference in their performance. Positive-minded officers are able to interpret the rules and regulation in favor of the case and achieve success, whereas negative-minded officers are unable to achieve goals by interpreting the same rule and regulation against the case. So now again they have said that 150 words, discuss with examples. That officer A and officer B, they have come through the same examination. But one is a positive officer, the other is a negative officer. And positive officer is able to achieve the result, negative officer is not able to achieve the result. He always blames. And he will interpret the rules so strictly that he will not be in a position to get the success. So this is the difference between the delivery of officer A and delivery of officer B. Okay. So introduction. Civil servants receive the same guidelines. ऐसा नहीं है कि दोनों को अलग अलग दी गई हैं. So they have same guidelines, uniform rules and regulations. But mindset, there is a word for that which is part of your syllabus. Attitude. Okay. So mindset is actually mindset impact. Positive minded officers achieve success, negative minded officers struggle with the same rule. So the same rule is interpreted by one officer in a positive manner, another officer with a negative manner. That is the difference between one officer and another officer. And you know, an accountable officer and non-accountable officer. Accountable officer will say, I can do it. I have the power, I will do that. Negative, non-accountable person will say, I have no power. He or she will start blaming the circumstances. They will start blaming the people down below. So they are the people who don't want to achieve success. You know, there are 8 fingers and 2 thumbs in our 2 hands. Every one of them represents a 2-letter word. So the 2-letter words, every finger and this. So supposing this is your hand, and I'm not very good at drawing, but supposing these are the 2 hands. Every one of them represents a 2-letter word. Do you know what the 2-letter words are there? If it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. I can do that. That is the difference between, he is a positive officer. He say, if it is to be, it is up to me. I can do that. Negative officer will say, no, I can't do that. Okay. So that is the difference between accountable and non-accountable person. So positive minded officer, some example, Armstrong Pame, well known, constructed a road in Manipur. TN Session ensured electoral rules for free and fair election. Prashant Nair launched Operation Suleiman, free food program in Kozhikode. You are asking about the different civil servants. So there are many civil servants who have made a name for themselves. Negative minded officers will start thinking denial of ration card leading to hunger because the person does not have an Aadhaar card, or RTI loopholes. PIO, who is PIO? Yes. So the person who has to part with the information under RTI Act, so he will take some excuse and in giving the information, undermining transparency. So the transparency will go. There is a negative officer. He doesn't want to part with the information. And Swachh Bharat Mission focus on toilet construction without promoting behavioral change. So this is the negative, that you concentrate on certain things which are more negative oriented rather than positive oriented. Okay. So conclusion is performance variance stems from mindset, which is basically attitude. Attitude, if it is a positive attitude, you will do the thing. If you have negative attitude, you will not do. And rule interpretation. So you can interpret the rule in such a way that it is in the larger public interest. And you can interpret the rule in such a way that it is not in larger public interest. Okay. So therefore, rules to serve public interest should be followed and interpreted while upholding integrity, impartiality, and fairness for effective governance. For example, in a jail, supposing the prisoners want to read books, okay, and the rules say that the books will not be given to the prisoners. So a negative person will say that the rules do not provide, I will not give books. But a positive person will read the whole rule. The rules actually was unless specifically authorized. So the positive person will authorize, he will say, I will authorize, let them have books, let them educate. This instance was narrated to me by Kiran Bedi when she was in charge of the prisons, Tihar jail. So she said there was a particular thing in the jail manual which prohibited people, but I read the rule slightly in greater detail, and it said that unless authorized by the officer. So I said there is a provision, so I am authorizing it, you give books to them. So this is how positive and negative people will interpret the rule. Okay. Conscience, अंतरात्मा की आवाज है ना, inner voice, indweller. Is conscience a more reliable guide when compared to laws, rules and regulation in the context of ethical decision making? Discuss. That means ki, is it more powerful than the laws in deciding, taking decisions? Do you think conscience plays a very important part in decisions, or the laws are more important? So that's the question. It came in 2023. So, approach, introduction. Balancing moral principles, societal impact, and individual consequences. So, conscience has an effect on ethical decision making. Conscience, sorry, yeah. So, conscience brings about ethical decision making. Balancing moral principles, societal impact, and individual consequences. Law will not do that. Law is strict, but conscience says, no, I think it should be done. Antaratma ki awaaz. Many times, many decisions are taken, particularly when there are ethical dilemmas, and you take a decision on the basis of the conscience. So, conscience is the keeper. It tells you what is right and what is wrong. And it takes into account the societal impact and individual consequences, balances the moral principle. So, the role of conscience, flexibility. Conscience brings about flexibility. Do you want a break? Okay. So, we will restart after 5 minutes. So, the role of conscience in ethical decision making. One is flexibility, adapts to situation, nuances. For example, law enforcement authorities use conscience to address immediate issues. So, conscience actually, sometimes following law may not achieve the desired results, and you may have to use conscience. Just to give an example, when in Chandigarh I was the collector, and Mandal Commission report was published, and many boys and girls, they came on the street, and they wanted to, they were disturbing the atmosphere because they felt that this decision of Mandal Commission was wrong, and they were also damaging public property, and then it led to the immolation also, Atmadaha. Many people started immolating themselves. So, people, boys and girls started dying. They were taken to the hospital. So, one particular day, one girl, she was admitted in the PGI because she had immolated herself. She was a very popular girl, and thousands of people, they assembled outside the PGI, which is the institute, best medical institute, and there was a law and order situation. So, the girl had severe burn injuries and more than 50%, and she was shouting at her voice even when in that condition in the car against the central government. So, people heard her cries and they immediately became sentimental, and they surrounded the PGI. So, when they surrounded the PGI, we placed the girl on a ICU bed, and the parents stood outside the gate. We doctors, all the doctors and the officers, we were attending to her, and I started thinking, what will happen supposing the girl dies? Because then the people, she was a very popular girl of Chandigarh, and people will immediately come inside. They were being stopped at the gate of the PGI. They will come inside and they will probably ransack the place, burn down the PGI, because the anger was so much against the Mandal Commission report. So, the girl, we tried to give the best medication. So, it started off that she was put on the ventilator, because ventilator, she was almost half dead when she was brought to the PGI. She was immediately put on the ventilator, and the chest of the girl started going up, down, giving clear indication that the girl is alive. So, she started breathing. The parents, they heaved a sigh of relief that the girl is alive. But how long? She had suffered more than 50% burns, and I started thinking, what will happen supposing she dies? And then 20,000 people who are so angry, they will probably go inside and try to burn down the place. And in the bargain, I will have to use force to stop those people. And using lathi charge or tear gas or firing, necessarily some people will be injured. I didn't want to do that because they had done no harm. They were angry because of a public policy. So 7 o'clock the girl died. And now the problem was that what do you do? So the law says that you announce the death of the girl immediately. In fact, you note down time of death and you have to announce. But if you announce the death, the parents will come to know, they will start weeping. Naturally, the girl has passed away. The people will come to know when they will see that the parents have started weeping, they will immediately understand that the girl is dead. They will immediately come inside the PGI and it will become a very, very serious law and order situation. So we decided that we will not announce the death of the girl. How do we do that? That was done in a manner which may not always appear to be correct, but in that circumstance it was the correct thing. So we went on with the ventilator. The chest of the girl went up, down, up, down, up, down. The girl had gone. The soul had gone. Only the body was there. But the chest of the girl went up, down because of the ventilator. So everyone thought that the girl is alive. We went on with the ventilator for 5 hours. And it then became almost in the night. By that time, everyone, barring the parents and the relation, everyone left for their homes. Nobody could stay for very long. And then right in the night at 1 o'clock, we declared the death of the girl. So the major law and order situation was averted. This is the kind of ethical dilemma, challenges you will face when you will be in the Indian Administrative Service, or for that matter, any service. So therefore, in such a situation, the conscience played a very important part. Law said, you announce the death of the girl. Conscience said, don't do it. If you want to save the people outside. So the conscience played a very, very important part there. So therefore, conscience adapts to situations, nuances. Law enforcement authority use conscience many times. Ethics versus law fills gaps in evolving legal frameworks. If there is a contradiction between ethics and law, then it fills the gaps in evolving legal frameworks. Can you give an example? Many times what happens is, law is made after something which is ethics demand that. Can you name some laws which were made because of some ethical considerations? Euthanasia. Okay, euthanasia also is there. But can you tell me a particular law which was made when the sex ratio came down? The sex ratio between the men and women, it started going down. So what was the law which was made? Yeah, prenatal checking of the fetus. That was banned because it had ethical consideration. So many times ethics lead to framing of laws, isn't it? So the conscience plays a very important part there, that this is how the conscience says that the girl should also have the same number, 1 to 1. Law says otherwise. So sometimes the ethics play important part in making laws. Okay. Take some other example. Cheating in the examination. It is unethical. So a law has to be made for that. Ragging. It is unethical. A law has to be made for that. So many times laws have to be made keeping in view the ethical considerations. Okay. Yeah, so manual scavenging, again a law was made, definitely. So emotional regulation, conscience leverages emotions. Whenever you have conscience, emotions play a part, isn't it? That old lady who was being denied the pension, the conscience said no, she should get the pension, even if she does not possess Aadhaar card. So the conscience plays to the emotions also. Emotional intelligence start playing a part in the conscience. Values and virtues emphasizes compassion and empathy, aiding vulnerable population, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, weaker section of society, senior citizens. For example, what is the law which was made when senior citizens were being thrown out by their children? Son throws out the parent, जाओ तुम जाओ किसी पुराने old age home में. So a law had to be made. What is that law? 2007 में बना था. Have a look at that law. It is for senior citizen. Collector has the power, the civil servant has the power to restore the possession of the house to the parents. So this is how ethics and law, they are very closely related, and conscience plays a very, very important part in ethical decision making. Okay, and role of laws, rules and regulation. उनका भी तो role है. Greater good prioritizes societal benefits. So the laws, rules and regulation also play a very important part, that they prioritize societal benefits. So something which is not a law, but once it is made into a law, then it leads to something good for the society. Once that the checking of the fetuses was made into a law, then all the ultrasound machines, they were seized, and the doctors were those who were indulging in that kind of practice, they were sent behind the bars. So the law was serving a societal purpose, isn't it? So that is the role of law. The role of conscience is also there, role of law is also there. Both have to coexist with each other. Sometimes an ethics or conscience leads to formation of a new law, and laws ensure that there is ethics in the society. Accountability. Law अगर होगा तभी तो accountable होंगे. If the law is not there, then you can't be held accountable, can you? Your responsibility will not be fixed unless and until there is a written law. So it leads to accountability. For example, conduct rules, it's a law, so you are accountable. Bias mitigation promotes impartiality. Law होता है तो law equally applies to all of them. तभी तो कहा जाता है ना कि वो justice आंखों पर पट्टी होती है और बराबर सबको equally treat करती है. Law treats everyone equal. If there is a accident, someone is killed, whether it is a poor person or a other person, wealthy person, law is the same. So law, the bias does not take place in law. It applies the law to equally to everyone and prevents harmful outcomes. So harmful, for example, speed limit. Motor Vehicles Act, a law is made that if you cross this speed limit, you will be penalized. So the harmful effects which take place in the society, laws stop that harmful effects. Okay. So conclusion is, effective ethical decision making combines external rules and internal conscience. गांधी जी का कोट यहाँ पर आप यूज कर सकते हैं. गांधी जी ने क्या कहा था कॉन्शियंस के बारे में? It is the greatest quote. So be the change is something else. But conscience के बारे में क्या कहा था उन्होंने? Why don't you look up Google now? Look at Google now. There is something which I always say: procrastination. Never procrastinate. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Look up Google and see the quote of Mahatma Gandhi on conscience. He's gave many quotes. Does it talk about anything about court, highest court of law? Yes. Conscience is the highest court of, as even higher than the court of justice. And there are many others which you all have read. So, conscience, you can always end your conclusion with a quote. Here you could use a quote for conscience, which will make your answer more impressive. तभी मैं बार बार आपसे कहता हूं, try to prepare a bank of quotes, subject wise and people wise, so that you can use them in your essay paper, in your GS4 paper and many other papers. They are going to be the add-ons to your answer. They will make you better as compared to other people, because everyone is in a race, competing. You have to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of others in order to get selected, isn't it? Old story padhi hogi. There was an American and there was a Japanese. Did you read that? No. So they were very good friends, American and a Japanese. They were very fond of hunting. So both of them went with their rifles to the jungle for hunting. Throughout the day they hunted. In the evening they finished all the bullets. So they had all the bullets were over. They were not left with any bullet. And it was getting dark, so suddenly there was a roar of a lion. Sher ki dahad sunai padi. So the American started running barefoot, नंगे पैर दौड़ने लगा towards the jeep. Jeep पार कर रखी थी वहां, भागने लगा कि भाई पीछे से शेर आ गया. And he shouted at the Japanese. He said, "You also run for your lives. There is a lion who is coming from behind and we have ran out of bullets. The bullets are over." So the Japanese, instead of running, he sat down. He started wearing his sport shoes. Nike or Reebok ke jo bhi laya tha, he started wearing them. So the American said, "Are you out of your mind? The lion is coming from behind and you are wearing shoes. Run towards the jeep. Otherwise the lion is going to come and eat you up." So the Japanese said, "I am wearing the shoes so that I can run faster than you. You are running barefoot. नंगे पैर दौड़ रहे हो पागलों की तरह से. मैंने जूते पहन लिए. I will be much faster than you. And therefore I will overtake you. You will be behind me. I will stay 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. And the lion is going to come from behind and he will eat you up and not me. And once he has grabbed you, he will stop. Usko khana mil gaya. In the meanwhile, I will run away." Now, this is precisely what happens in competitions. You have to run faster than the others. And how will you do that? Add on something more than what others will write. It can be some new research which has been done, or it can be a quote, it can be an example, just to add on to the things. So this is how you will do that. What do you understand by the term good governance? How far recent initiatives in terms of e-governance steps taken by the state have helped the beneficiaries? Discuss with suitable example, 150 words, 10 marks. So the question is, what is good governance? What are the initiatives in terms of e-governance, steps taken by the state? So e-governance, lot of steps have been taken. Can you give some example? It's not a very difficult question. Good governance, 8 pillars. Okay. What are the 8 pillars? Rule of law, accountability, transparency, inclusivity, participatory, consensus building, responsiveness, and so on. So that is good governance, concept introduced by the World Bank. And e-governance initiatives. EFIR is there, e-courts is there, then use of telemedicine is there, work from home is there, e-education is there, Health also, lot many measures have been taken. Fast tags are there, you see. So these are all relating to the e-governance. DBT is there, direct benefit transfer. So approach, introduction, good governance is the process whereby public institution conduct public affairs and manage public resources in a manner that promotes the rule of law and the realization of human rights. So civil, political, economic, social and cultural rights. Actually it is a definition given by the World Bank. So good governance is the process whereby public institution means government institution, conduct public affairs and manage public resources. These are the following traits: transparency, responsiveness, already you are aware about them. So you will write the thing. So you will write a definition which is an introduction. What is good governance? So good governance is, as I said, is basically managing the public resources for the public good to ensure that human rights, civil, political, economic, social and cultural, they are protected. Easy definition, not a problem. And then you will write the traits. Sometimes we also call them attributes, or we also call them pillars of good governance. So initiatives and extent of efficacy of e-governance. Aadhaar, it has brought transparency and has helped in reducing leakages of government subsidies and elimination, inclusion and exclusion errors. So whatever errors were there, they have been removed with the help of Aadhaar. Everything is now linked with Aadhaar. So registration of documents, government subsidy, ration cards. So all these things having been linked with Aadhaar, lot of leakages of revenue, they have come down. So that again is a measure of the e-governance. Okay. So it has brought transparency, reducing leakages, subsidies, eliminating inclusion and exclusion errors. So errors have come down. Pehle galat beneficiary, those who have died also, they were getting pension, they were getting rations. So the errors which were there, that has been made, because machine, when it is e-governance, by the way, which country is regarded as the best governed country in e-governance? What's the name? Which is regarded as the best country in the world, e-governance. It starts with the letter E. बोलिए बोलिए, जोर से बोलिए, कुछ उधर से आवाज आई थी. Estonia. Estonia is the best governed country in e-governance. Okay. So e-governance ensures that errors are minimized. By the way, let me ask you one question. What are the pillars of e-governance? Requirements. 5 requirements of e-governance. They all start with the letter C. Bataiye. You see, in my lectures, I try to incorporate certain things also which may not be as such found in the books. So there are 5 important requirements for running a program on e-governance. What are those 5? Starting with the letter C, all of them. Come on, it's very simple. Computer is one. Yeah, connectivity. Then C, consumer, citizen. There has to be a consumer, citizen. 4th, content. There has to be content. Some data has to be passed on from one place to another place. That is, the content has to be there. And 5th is confidence. It improves confidence. क्योंकि error नहीं होती है. These are the 5 C's, 5 pillars of e-governance. Okay. So errors are minimized. So some examples, others are there. UL, PIN, It is unique land parcel identity. Basically, it is land reforms, computerization of land records. So you can say computerization of land records. Which states first of all did it? First states. Madhya Pradesh has also done it. It started with basically Karnataka, and then Andhra Pradesh, and then Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So computerization of land record, and then CCTNS. It is basically crime and criminal tracking network. But as I said, during COVID-19, a lot many measures had to be taken through e-governance, huh? Yeah, Cowin, so Cowin, Arogya Setu, है ना? And e-learning process, the entire education was through e-governance. Fast tags were introduced so that cars don't have to pay cash, and telemedicine was done. Doctors, because everyone was afraid that he would contract. आपको याद होगा कि even the lift का button भी हम लोग जो है dot pen से दबाते थे, pen से. We never touched the lift button also. And sanitary, a lot of requirements, sanitation requirements. So sanitizers were there and masks were there. So that was, of course, beside the so e-governance plays a very important part. And now, of course, e-courts are there, e-prisons are there, e-forensics are there, e-prosecution is there, and one more is e-governance project is regarding procurement. What is the name of the procurement platform of government? GEM. So it is Government e-marketplace, GEM. That is the procurement platform. So India's e-government projects face significant challenges in spite of good objectives. For example, local language mein there is a problem. Some people, they are not in a position to understand because they are not available in the local language. Remote areas में internet की connectivity नहीं है. Affordable issue नहीं है because some people are very poor, they can't afford it. Literacy, IT literacy, again is a challenge. Everyone doesn't know how to operate a computer or otherwise. And data theft incidents have raised concerns about the security. Hona? Who is that authority you have to approach if there is a any cyber crime which happens? Police to hai hi. Huh? Cyber? Yeah. And if there is a fraud from a bank, who is the authority you have to approach? Reserve Bank of India. And if there is an appeal to be filed against a bank's decision, what is the name of that authority? There is a person. Huh? No, against the order of the bank, there is an independent operator. Ombudsman. Okay, so conclusion is the cost of establishing and maintaining national security, nationwide services, that is e-governance, is very essential. Effective e-governance requires addressing these challenges to ensure accessibility. Okay, so that is the answer you will write. First of all, you will write about good governance, and then you will write about the e-governance, the positives and the challenges. Okay. E-prisons means, supposing there is a very dreaded criminal, he has to be produced before a court. So e-prisons means you install a camera there. So through video conferencing, the trial of the prisoner is held while he is in the prison. He is not taken to the courts. So that is the entire thing has been through e-governance. So they will remain there, and the court also will have a video cameras. Huh? So they will be able to try that particular through video conferencing. So the prisons also have been done. An independent and empowered social audit mechanism is an absolute must in every sphere of public service, including judiciary, to ensure performance, accountability, and ethical conduct. Elaborate. So the question is that independent and empowered social audit is absolutely necessary. This came in 2021. And judiciary also needs to introduce this. So to ensure performance, accountability, and ethical conduct. Elaborate. So the answer is introduction. Again, everything will start with introduction, conclusion, so that you follow the steps. So the social audit is where beneficiaries assess and monitor government operations. So Manrega is one scheme where it has been almost launched throughout the country. So what is the social audit in the case of Manrega? Tell me what happens there. Social audit is done by the stakeholders, the beneficiaries, particularly the beneficiaries. So do you know what happened? Supposing there is a development work, pavement of street, deepening of pond, construction of culverts, construction of drains in a village. So funds are allocated by the BDO, the block development officer, and it is done. But now you have to carry out a check. People must also know that this work we have carried out. So what we do is that we call a meeting of the Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha means every inhabitant of the village having more than 18 years of age. And then in front of the Gram Sabha, you write on a blackboard that these are the works which we have carried out. So from this place to this place, this is street, yeah, deepening of this particular pond. This is the amount of expenditure which we have incurred. So we ask them that, do you verify that it has actually been done or not? So we ask the beneficiary. They should certify. Otherwise, someone will say, nahi sahab, ये सिर्फ fraud है, यहाँ कोई ऐसा काम नहीं हुआ है. That is social audit. The villagers themselves must verify and certify whether that work under Manrega has been done or not. Because it is the people who are witness to that thing. If they have not seen that work being carried out, they will point out the infirmity and the officer will be taken to task, including the panchayat. Okay, so social audit is where beneficiaries assess the government operations using findings to demand accountability. So accountability and transparency is ensured through social audit. It was first made statutory in Manrega 2005. So it ensures performance, accountability, and ethical conduct. So transparency, it improves governance, it boosts democracy. Why boosts democracy? So the people, partnership of the people, the inclusion, the partnership of the people who are actually the beneficiaries. So it strengthens the grassroots level democracy. Enhances efficiency because it is able to point out which are the gaps. मान लीजिए कि कोई सड़क उसने बना तो दी लेकिन उसके अंदर अच्छी तरह नहीं बनाई. There are gaps in that. उसका मटेरियल अच्छा नहीं यूज़ किया गया है. So people will immediately point out कि साहब ये सड़क तो बन गई है लेकिन उसके अंदर अभी से खड्डे हो गए हैं, पानी भर जाता है. So there will be taken to task. So if there is a social audit, the contractor and the officer will be very, very on guard that the work should be as per the quality. So it ensures efficiency, addresses shortcomings, yani ki it addresses grievances, because anyone can rise and you say that I challenge this decision. You say that it has been done, it has not been done. So the grievance, it addresses grievance, social audit. Sometimes I have seen collectors attending the social audit. वो खड़े होके कहते हैं बताओ भाई और बहनों ये काम आपके यहाँ हुए हैं कि नहीं हुए. So it ensures accountability. And also professionalism, maintains proper records and accounts. whatever works are carried out, it ensures, because social audit hona hai, so they have to maintain proper records of that. Construction hoga, uske andar material kharida jayega, all those things have to be maintained. And social audit and judiciary. So the question was, whether do you think judiciary also we should have some kind of a social audit? So judiciary is independent but not autonomous. So therefore, you can carry out social audit of that. Social audit can improve judiciary performance. How? What are the shortcomings of judiciary? It's written on this board. Come on, tell me. Delays in decision, है ना? Adjournments, है ना? Then number of judges being low, and then what happens? Yeah, under trials की संख्या बहुत बढ़ती चली जा रही है. So pendency, case pendency, delayed justice, vacancies, and the issues like contempt of court. All these issues can be addressed with social audit. So conclusion is, an independent empowered social audit mechanism is very essential to improve performance, accountability and ethical conduct in all public services, including the judiciary. So judiciary is not sacrosanct. So this question was asking you whether social audit is good and whether it should be implemented for judiciary as well. Explain the term social capital. How does it enhance good governance? So, what is the social capital? You give a definition. The network of social relations, trust, norms benefiting communities and individuals. So it's basically coming of various peoples together and joining hands like a society for social capital. So social capital is a network of social relations which have trust with each other, and each one of them benefits the other person. It is like a society. You have a cooperative society. Every member of the cooperative society benefits because it's a team. What is the full form of team? Together, everyone achieves more. So it is like, social capital is like a team which is created because of network of the people. So what are the effects of this? It enhances good governance because accountability, everyone is accountable to the other person. In a network, there are pressures, social pressures. Like in a for example, if there is a society and if someone is carrying out something wrong, the other person's pressure would be there, that why are you doing it? So therefore, accountability improves convergence on issues, so facilitates consensus in polarized settings. Dispute resolution hota hai na? Why? How? Yeah, ADR. So it is like ADR. If there are disputes, every member exerts pressure on the other to come out with a solution. So social capital enhances good governance. The issues are decided. Innovations in policy making, because everyone contributes towards policy making. Single person karega to galti ho sakti hai, but when it is a society which is making the public policy, the chances of going wrong is less. That is why the Fortune 500 companies all over the world, they get their decisions made through team building, not through individuals, because team enhance accountability, issues are decided quickly, the disputes are resolution takes place, and service delivery improves. So service delivery, for example, women's self-help groups. Self-help group is also a social capital. Can you name one particular self-help group which has reached the household, the kitchen, and it started off with a few ladies with a very small amount. Lijjat papad. So lijjat papad, correct. So rule compliance shapes citizen expectation, and there is a reduced need for enforcement, because if everyone is disciplined, so there is no need to enforce laws. If there is a social network, so social network, everyone acts as a policeman, you can say. Everyone guards the other person, and when you are sitting in at random decisions are not taken, they are taken on merits. So social capital with its trust and cohesive elements is crucial in enhancing the economic, social and political opportunity, significantly contributing to good governance. So good governance ke kyun? Why? Because good governance talks about rule of law. If there is a social capital, society, the rule of law is obeyed. Nobody violates the rule of law. There is inclusivity. Everyone benefits. There is a responsiveness. They respond to the problem, because one person may neglect a problem, but all the people, when they join together, they have to respond. If it leads to efficiency and effectiveness, it leads to accountability and transparency. Participatory because everyone participates. Consensus building, how? Yeah, so if there are contentious issues, then some kind of a consensus is reached. So consensus building is also a part of good governance. So this is the social capital. Whistleblower who reports corruption and illegal activities, wrongdoings and misconduct to the concerned authorities run the risk of being exposed to grave danger. Can I take 5 minutes more? Okay. So this is about the whistleblower. What policy measure would you suggest to strengthen protection mechanism to safeguard the whistleblower? So whistleblower, a law was made. Probably it has not been implemented so far. 2014, I think implementation, there are some setbacks. You can check up Google whether the law of whistleblower has been implemented or not. So the whistleblowers are crucial in exposing illegal, immoral and unsafe activities within organization. So the whistleblower exposes the illegal activities within organization. Protecting them is essential to maintain transparency and encourage people to report misconduct, isn't it? So therefore, encourage करना जरूरी है और transparency के लिए. So therefore, whistleblowers are very necessary. They should be protected. Protection is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, no one will take cudgels in the future. So strengthen the Whistleblower Protection Act 2014. Operationalize the act. It has not been made operational as such. Okay. To ensure protection. Extend coverage to private sector employees also. Allow anonymous complaints to protect identities, similar to Slovakia and Australia. So in India, anonymous complaints, they are generally not inquired. People don't write their names, or pseudonymous complaints come. So therefore they say that even anonymous complaints should be encouraged. If you want that the misdeeds are brought to the fore, and whistleblowers should be protected. Amend the Companies Act. Include mechanism to protect whistleblower in listed entities. Listed entities means those who are listed on the stock exchange. You know? So include mechanism to protect whistleblowers in companies. Balance protection with measures against frivolous complaint. Why? Unnecessary complaints will be there. Frivolous, किसी के खिलाफ डाल दी application तो inquiry शुरू हो गई. You have to take protection for that also. Effective investigation mechanism. So fair investigation should be carried out. Anti-retaliation policies. Implement sanctions against retaliation as it has seen in the EU Whistleblower Protection Directive. So the European Union Whistleblower Protection Directive has got some kind of an inbuilt provision which provides sanction against retaliation. What is retaliation? Revenge. And implement sanctions and then provide legal remedies and compensation for the whistleblower. Increase awareness. So basically awareness amongst people regarding whistleblower policies in workplace, foster a supportive environment for reporting wrongdoing. So all the people in the organization should support, encourage, motivate those who are whistleblowers. So the conclusion is implementing these measures will create a safe environment for whistleblowers, enhancing transparency and accountability in the organizations. In the context of work environment, differentiate between coercion and undue influence with suitable examples. This came in 2023. Yani what is coercion and what is undue influence? So can you tell me what is the difference between the two? Okay, all right, correct. Yeah, tell me. Yes, sir. Okay, all right. So this is the tabular. First of all, introduction. Work environment. So work environment is a combination of physical and non-physical elements affecting job performance. So positive environment enhances productivity. Toxic elements like coercion and undue influence hinder the productivity. So difference is coercion is use of force or threats against will. Coercion. Manager give threats. And undue influence is manipulating someone's trust or dependency, promotion suggestion. So coercion means that you are threatening someone. अगर आप ये नहीं करोगे तो हम ये करेंगे आपके साथ. That is coercion. Undue influence is कि if you do that, we'll give you promotion. So that is undue influence. Nature is, this is direct. Coercion is direct and explicit. For example, disciplinary action. Indirect and subtle is subtle pressure. That is indirect. So it is indirect. Coercion is direct. Motive is intimidation for specific outcomes. For example, project deadline threats. So coercion is for specific outcomes, whereas here it is exploiting the trust and authority to influence decision. For example, career advancement implications. कि अगर ये if you do that, we will promote you or we give a better posting, or we will post you in a place which is your hometown. That is undue influence. But coercion is negative. It is directly trying to threaten the person. So conclusion is promoting ethical practices is a healthy work is healthy for a healthy work environment. So ethical practices must be carried out. That is why you have business ethics and corporate governance. Integrity is a value that empowers the human being. Justify with suitable illustration. Integrity is a value that empowers the human being. It is a quote again. That is why I say quotes will come. So integrity is a value. It's a value. As I told you, some of you had asked the question, what is the difference between honesty and integrity? Yeah, you had asked me. So therefore, honesty is necessary. But you may be very honest, but you may not work. You may sit over the files, you don't take decisions. So you are lacking in integrity. So integrity is a value that empowers the human being. So introduction is integrity means the ability of an individual to remain consistent and committed to personal and professional values, characterized by honesty and strong moral principles even when unobserved. So that is the most important part of integrity. Even when you are not supervised, you are unobserved, you remain committed to your values. And that is why it is derived from the word integer. Integer is whole number. You should be whole, consistent. Empowerment through integrity, family life. Integrity builds children's character. Why? Because if you have integrity, teach the children, they learn the good things about honesty and readiness for future challenges. Parents who model moderate reactions help children avoid lying to stay out of trouble. इसका क्या मतलब है? What do you mean by this? Yes, not taking extreme opinions against children. Because if you take extreme views, children will lie. But if you are moderate, so that is why integrity actually leads to parents who builds children's character. So you model the behavior of the children by showing that this is how I do that. You should also do that. So you model. Public life integrity fosters good manners. APJ Abdul Kalam, strong work ethics. Professional life, Ratan Tata. They build trust, responsibility and career advancement through honesty and professionalism. Known for the ethics, professionalism. Public services, integrity ensures civil servants prioritize public interest and personal over the personal gain. So the public services, they are over and above the private gains. So therefore, for civil servants, it is they prioritize public interest over private gain. TN sessions, integrity. So the conclusion is living with integrity empowers individuals by instilling strong moral principle and consistent commitment, serving as transparency. So that is the advantage of having integrity. Thank you so much. It was wonderful interacting with you. So we have tried to discuss 14 case studies, 14 questions, PYQs, based on the theory part, which is part A. As I said, part A is as important as part B. Part A can have a bearing, can help you in writing good answers for part B. Part B can help you in writing good answers for part A. So shall we call it a day then? Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure.